before we start the show, we would like to thank our sponsors for 2024, Beefmaster Education Endowment Fund. Thank you for what you do for the breed, and thank you for supporting our show. SEBA, the Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association. Don't miss their convention and sale every August. Thank you for supporting the show. Emmons Ranch Beefmasters, Mr. Steve and Mrs. Cindy. They need no introduction. They always breed great cattle, and we just appreciate what you guys do, and thank you for supporting us. C&M Ranches out of Kershaw, South Carolina, the Chick family. Be on the lookout for their sale starting in 2025. Thank you for supporting the show. Lissy's Beefmasters is another one that doesn't need any introduction. We appreciate what you do for the breed and for our show. Cottage Farms Beefmasters, they have a sale with Clark Jones every year in June. Thank you for supporting our show. Sea Shepherd Beefmasters, thank you for supporting the show out there in Texas. And Jones Beefmasters, last but certainly not least, sell every June. They sell throughout the year. Mr. Clark, thank you for what you do for the breed every day, and thank you for what you do for our show. JCS Beefmasters, Jared and Kelly Strickland out of Savannah, Tennessee, always raising great stock. Thank you for what you do for the show, and be on the lookout for their cattle and coming sales this year. Lastly, G&M Cattle Company out of Taylorsville, North Carolina, family owned and operated, will be in multiple sales this year as well. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Welcome into Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morrison and Jared Strickland. How's it going, Jared?
It's going all right.
Have been a little down in the dumps, huh?
I'm trying to get over this old head cold deal.
I knew the other night I talked to you, and it was not going well over that way. So we're the day before this is supposed to come out, but it's all right. We're getting it in, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I held up progress, but I'm doing better now enough to get it done anyway.
That's all right. Spring's coming. It's everybody's got the sniffles around here right now. It's pollen counts are already high, and grass is green and starting to grow. I'm just hoping that it don't get nipped here. Normally, in this part of the world, you just never know about March. It generally will turn off cold for a couple days, and hopefully we won't get that.
We're turning pretty green here pretty quick. We actually we're probably a little ahead of schedule. Looks like.
So, I've noticed the cows slowing down on the hay, so I think so here too.
That's one thing I don't like about this time of year is you're ready for it to green up. The cow's about starved herself to death looking for a little piece of grass to eat.
Man, you go out there in the middle of the day and they've got three plus rolls of hay sitting out here, and they're out there picking what grass is not there.
Yeah, they get every little nibble there.
You got breeding season coming along, so it's getting ready to happen for a lot of folks.
Getting ready to fire up for those. Those folks have been. It's funny how you start seeing the bull sales pop up, and I noticed on Facebook it's getting kind of active. People looking for bulls. And
oh yeah. So well, it puts you in the mood.
Yeah,
this kind of weather puts you in the mood for cow sales and bull sales, and it just it's that time of year, and you can start wearing. I've got short sleeves on over here today, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah, I think it got up to about 75 here.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it got that way here. I had way too many clothes on at work today, but no, it's gonna be good. It's a great time of year, other than the people that sneeze, and they probably don't love it. But
yeah, I'll take a little bit of runny nose for some cows being turned out on some grass. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But well, tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about flushing, different ways you can flush, different programs you can do, and flushing cows versus heifers, which is generally can be a touchy subject. We're on a roll with some touchy subjects, so we're just going to keep rolling with it.
Yeah, well, we're talking about what we wanted to talk about. We've been kind of going down the list of questions or topics that we've been asked to talk about, and this was one that's been on here for a little while. We haven't got to it yet, but the topic kind of was flushing heifers versus cows, etc., or flushing in general has been brought up as well. So we'll try to cover all of that we can, especially the heifers versus cows question. So
yes, yeah, we'll get into it. I mean, I guess maybe for the folks that's not ever flushed or newer, I guess we could just start off by talking why we flush a cow.
Well, the general purpose of it on the airplane view of it would be for consistency, because you take a cow that's got is a good like a good to great cow. Great cow would probably be the way to describe it. Well, she can only have one calf a year unless she happens to have twins. But you want more calves out of that line, so you'll flush that cow, which would be later the conventional way, and get eggs. Or nowadays, there's new technology, and that's something we're going to talk about too with this IVF stuff that's really changed the game a lot. And actually brought into more heifer flushing as well. So,
Yes. Quickest way to
so
build
that
a
kind,
herd.
yeah. So we're looking at uh, the new technology. Conventional flushing was never really really know for sure 100%, but conventionally flushing a heifer was not necessarily the best idea from what I've been told. And then, so you'd always wait to flush them as cows. But with this new IVF stuff, you can do it before they calve or even bred. So, and it doesn't really do anything to the heifer as far as hormone wise or anything. There's no medications. You just take them and, they stick that little needle down into the ovaries and pull those oocytes out. So,
Pretty impressive how
that's
it's done.
yeah, it's really neat. It's like I said, it's changed the game as far as that goes. But
We can go back to um not this episode, but the one prior with the Emmons. I mean, that's how they started their entire herd when they started. They sold all theirs and flushed. I think they said they flushed one cow and just started to get babies out there. And that's the way you can buy all the cows you want. But at the end of the day, I think you told me, Jared, there's not going to be but two or three that you're going to notice are your best producers every single time.
yeah,
And
well, I mean, that's kind of the whole mindset of flushing is to take that top cow or those best three or four or whatever you got and get more calves out of them on a yearly basis or however often you want to do it, instead of getting that one calf. And kind of like we've talked privately a bunch of times, and I try to tell folks this too. Over time, let's say you have a herd of cow, say 20 cows, and over time, you'll find yourself 5, 6, 7 years later keeping heifers out of the same cows. And that should be a sign that, hey, look, I've got this good cow. Maybe I should flush her. So that kind of leads me into the talk of flushing cows versus heifers. Obviously, flushing is an expensive endeavor because you've got this technology, you've got to pay the folks to do it. You've got to implant the embryos and other cows, which is at this point in time with the market is an expense because just a commercial cow ain't cheap. I mean, so if you want to put in 20 embryos on your own, you got to have several cows to do that, or pay a calf raiser to do it. Well, commercial prices are really high now, so they're charging a lot more. I mean, if you can find a calf raiser at $2,000 these days for a weaned calf, you're probably doing pretty good. So there's an expense to that. So with that said, you're not going to want to flush something that's going to get you calves that are not very good, because you're going to have a lot of money tied up in them. And so that's why I say this contradictory because I flushed a heifer this past year. So that's beside the point, I guess. But giving advice, I guess, and not being risky like myself. Uh, if you're going to flush an animal, I would hope that she's had several calves for you to know if she's consistently producing yet or not. That would be my advice on that. Most of the cattle that I say, other than this one heifer we flushed or whatever, we did do the IVF to try that out. First time trying that too. But me and my dad's always flushed cattle that's had multiple calves, so we kind of already know. And then looking back at time, the ones we did flush, most of the cows in our herd are out of those cows. So, and I think looking back, we made good decisions on picking the cows we flushed because we have more. A lot of the cattle we still have in our herd are from those cows. So, that makes me feel better about it. I guess also, I mean, I can't give you a general rule of thumb, I guess, on how many calves that a cow should have before you decide. I guess one thing I would look at is to say if she's had 3 calves, are they out of different bulls and are they all good? If a good cow can carry three different bulls, then you're looking at something very consistent. Because when you're flushing cattle, you want to be consistent with your matings. I've always been told if you find one that works, stick with that one if we're flushing.
And you buy predictable genetics, and like I say, I may get argued at for this one because I know there's lots of genetics out there, but if you buy a predictable, proven bloodlines that produce over and over and over, you're generally going to be able to talk to that breeder and get down to just a couple bulls that are probably not going to, even if they're not a home run, they're not going to be a flop. So, using your money, it just goes back to that, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can most of those breeders that you do buy from, if you're buying or even a proven cow, they're going to give you some insight on what they might think they would breed her to or flush her to, and your experience, their experience, or even a consultant that has a good avenue to sell those genetics may help you out with that too.
And it
Um,
goes
and
back to the advice we always give: get out and talk to people. They're more than willing
uh,
to help you. Just get out and talk to them.
and I guess kind of compounding on the heifer flushing deal, in my experience, we ended up being a partnership deal. Well, before we bred her, we wanted to get some insurance out of her, I guess, be the one way to put that. So we did a, IVF flush, with the oocytes and all that, and put them in the tank. We ended up putting in a few, but uh, I guess what I looked at it as that point of view was an insurance kind of deal, and also a way to us being partners in it. We were able to kind of pick our own bulls and do our own ideas and have our own eggs. So that's another reason why I think some more heifer flushing is going on. What do you think, Josh?
I think you're right. I mean, I think you get these partners together. It especially when you get along. Um, you and I missed. Well, us and yourself missed a good one last year that I don't know what we were all doing sitting on our hands. And she was a cow. We could have just took her and flushed her. We had everything we needed, but I still say we should have our butt kicked for that. But just like that, I mean, if you can get with, we just didn't talk about it, and that's a perfect prime example of you know going and talking to people, talking to each other. If you can't, if you see something you want, and you got a good friend that knows cattle also, talk to them and see if they want a partner. I mean, you could always split flushes. You could split everything down the middle, but it makes flushing a lot more affordable and a lot easier when you able to bounce something off people. Um, and then you can, you just like I said, you can put your heads together and really come up with something then.
Yeah, I like the way that it kind of works. Like you say, you split the eggs if that's what you want to do, or keep them together and put them all in together. I mean, but it does make it more affordable, and you can reach out there and get some of those more elite genetics you're after with a partner too. So, man, that's kind of an idea. I didn't really think we was going to go down that route, but we did.
You just never know what we're going to go down.
Yeah, that's right.
We just kind of I find a trail and we just go down it.
That's right.
But no, I mean
And
it's some people don't want to be partners with others, and that's fine too. I mean, it's just whatever you like. There's not really a right or wrong. Um,
well, I agree with you. And then, I've had some comments about our last episode. One comment come in that I thought maybe think a little bit more about getting your hands on elite genetics, or even going back to the 10 cow thing we talked about last episode. Well, a comment was made about, well, how do you do that if you're a working man, etc. and all this, and that's a good point. It's hard to if you're on a budget, it can be difficult. And like we're talking about these partners, that might be something to look at for someone that is on a budget. Uh, find somebody else that you think alike can have. And I would say the only way that's going to work is if you're on the same page. I mean,
Right.
you got to be on the same page when it comes to that. But I mean, that's something a way to get out there and grab some of those genetics maybe is through partnerships with if you're limited on budget wise and it's worked for us in the past.
It has. And I mean, I think it's important. You made a good point right there. You said, what if, the comment you got made to you was the working man. I think it's important to note the vast majority of breeders are just working Americans. Sure, some have, better paying jobs than others. I mean, that's just part of it. But like you said, I think for some reason a stigma of, and it's not just our breed. I've heard it through other breeds because I've got friends that have registered Angus, and they hear the same thing is the little man can't really make anything. And it goes back to I think I made the comment on one of these episodes. I just went blank. Anyways, you know, the little man can make as big of a splash as the big man. I mean, I'm gonna go back and use them as an example again. Look at the Emmons. I mean, they started with one cow and they flushed her and got a bunch of babies out of her. Yes, it's a hero or zero moment, but that's the best way to build a herd in a quick fashion. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. I don't think I want people to not feel like, well, that's the only way to build a herd. There's not. I mean, you can buy two or three good cows, not flush them, just get you a really good bull and start keeping the heifers out of those and start building that way. I mean, there's ways to do it, but I think it's very important to note that the vast majority of people are the working Americans that are just trying to breed the best cow they can.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the deal. The flushing deal to build a herd, I guess, would be kind of a shortcut or a cheat code or whatever, as long as you've got good cattle to start with.
Yes.
You can flush cattle that are not consistent enough, and you can go backwards real fast. Uh, but yeah, it's everybody that whether you're on a budget or have the means or whatever. I guess that was just kind of an idea for those that would like to try this. That are kind of limited on money wise because I mean, truth be told, it costs money to do stuff like that. So
And anymore, input costs are high. I mean,
yeah,
everything's high
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, it's high, and so there is a very much risk involved. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody the other day. Anytime you're dealing with livestock, you're dealing with risk. So,
Yes. You like to gamble,
so
I guess is what we're
yeah.
saying.
So I mean, and I was talking with somebody, and that's what we was talking about was the purebred industry versus commercial industry. Well, anytime you give more money for an animal that's over market value, you're at financial risk. So always remember that. So a $2,500 heifer in the commercial market is at $1,500. In our idea, we think, well, that might be cheap, but you're still at financial risk because the next day, if you want to take her to the sale barn, you're not getting $2,500.
No.
So always remember that. So in this game is anytime you pay more for, and man, you always joke about this. We've joked about it. The day you buy that animal at a sale, you was the only one that thought she was worth that much.
Yeah. And I told you the day you told me that, I said, I don't know if I feel good about that or if I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah. So I've always, somebody told me that one time and it stuck with me forever.
Well, I mean, it's just the way it is. If somebody quits bidding and your hand's still up, you're going to get her. And you're right.
Yeah.
You thought she was worth the most that day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it don't. Sometimes they do end up at the sale barn.
That's right. Speaking of worth the most, what do you think about that daybreak sale?
Man, it was wild, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty. We thought we'd talk about that too. And it kind of goes along with what we're talking about flushing. The technology kind of has changed the landscape of genetic sales, I guess would be the way to put it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
And I think what you're seeing and that would be a good example of that sale is a good example of how technology changes that thing. I've had couple conversations since the sale, like, well, how do you come out on that much on a straw semen? And that's a good question. Because typically when you see semen selling for anywhere from $20 to $100 a straw, you think, well, 10,000 is pretty high. And I guess that's a good way of putting it. But when you think about it, uh, you got a rare, or not a rare, but a very sought after genetic pool there. We always talk about this IVF flushing. Uh, that technology changes that straw semen to where the conventional way, you usually had to use 3 straws of semen to flush a cow, right? Well, now you could use 1 straw, and if you have, say, 6 or 7 cows you want to flush, well, you can IVF those cows and drop that 1 straw on however many oocytes you get, you know, could be hundreds.
If you put it in a cow, and here it goes back to having flushed before, and cows that you know, I probably wouldn't recommend putting that $10,000 straw in a heifer. I'd probably put it in a cow that is going to flush well and create a lot of eggs, at least a decent amount of eggs. Only because, once that's divided out by 25, 30, 10, it becomes a little more, you kind of understand it a little more. And I know I've seen comments and heard comments, same thing you said about how do you come out on that? And I mean, it's hard to fathom that 1 straw of semen brought $10,000. And hey, I am as happy for those guys as anybody in this world. I am ecstatic that could happen. But you're right. I mean, that's what's got to happen, and that's not something you're just gonna go stick in a cow and hope she sticks. You're gonna flush with
Yeah,
that.
no. Yeah, and with that new technology, you can have, if you line the cows up right and they do good, you may end up with 60 to 100 embryos.
Right.
So,
Especially if you reverse sort that. I mean, like we use Vitelli. No, they don't sponsor us. That would be neat. But anyways, we use Vitelli. Or we started using them. Actually, y'all used them before we did, and that was really impressive. But they can, like you said, they can go in there and get out all those sites and send them to the lab. They'll breed them, and I mean, you don't no drugs. Take her home and you put her right back with the bull. It don't matter.
yep, or they could be bred already up to a certain stage. And it's a real neat technology.
But the comments, I
But
mean, that kind of just shows, with the people that's asked, just genuinely asked, how do you, come out on that? Because I think you and we didn't really have that conversation, but we've conversated about it. And I mean, I think hopefully that's a good answer for folks that are just curious about how that works and how, you know, something like that. But it goes back to predictable genetics. That's how you can tell a lot of times that they're predictable genetics. Now, I'm not saying for you to go out and spend $10,000 on a straw semen. If you want to, great. But that's the real sought after stuff like that is how you know that something's working.
well, and marketable. I mean, those calves, could be worth lots of money. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely. And I think there's babies hitting the ground now. So that makes it even better when people start seeing them. Um, from I think that always spikes curiosity and interest as well.
yep. And just kind of wrapping up that discussion, I guess, if that technology wasn't there, I just don't think you see that price for those.
No, and something else cool about the technology part of it is I didn't get to listen in. I didn't even know they did it, but I think they went live and actually I don't know if they talked about when we'll have to get Trey on here and tell us how that went. But I mean, they were actually on there, talking about the Bulls, maybe what they were out of. But it's just cool that, these online genetic sales are really, really, I'll say they're taking off. They have taken off. I mean, the Lissies has done one for a few years and they've been successful wildly successful as well. I just pulled up the beef um, auction, and the bulls did well there. I mean, now I know that can be a little bit different because folks are donating to beef, but it's still the same aspect. You don't have to drive 10 hours to a sale, 12 hours to a sale or more just to get these genetics. You can sit at home on your couch, pull this up on the computer, bid on it. When you win it, I mean, you can do everything over the phone, and it goes. I'm going to kind of leave the flushing aspect for a minute. It goes for these live online sales now. I mean, you don't see as many people as you used to at these sales, and I've not been in it long enough, but I know you've told me, Jared, that used to there was, I mean, it was packed, but now people don't have to, they can see the pedigrees, they can see the videos, they can call people that are there. Um, it's just made it very convenient, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, I don't know who would think it was a bad idea. I mean, obviously, you don't get the crowds there like you used to. But I think the online stuff, it's making cattle bring more. It's making genetics bring more, just because you're reaching a wider array of people.
Now, I agree with that when it comes to the online sales. I think it's been one of the best things happen to pricing cattle because it's very convenient. I mean, you could, even I mean, from my experience, we bought cattle on the phone or internet, whatever, but most of them we buy, right there on the iPhone.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we may be, well, I know that one we bought some, we've been really busy, need to get hay out or something like that, and it's hard to drive 8 hours to a sale on the weekend when you know you got hay to get out,
oh yeah.
and you can sit there and bid, and, you know, have her hauled to you or something like that at another date.
And generally,
So,
there's still plenty of trailers there generally that can get them there. I mean,
yeah. Well,
it's
and I agree with what you were saying about the crowds. Used to the crowds were big, but at the same time, you kind of, I mean, you could bid over the phone and all that, but it was kind of more of those things people wanted to go see in person, and you didn't have the video to look at like you do now too. So that makes a big difference.
yeah, no, I mean it's really technology. It's amazing what technology does in such a excuse me short period of time. But I mean, you have to. It's that or you're going to get behind. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to because the other breeds are. I always hate to say that the other breeds are doing it, but the other breeds are doing it. I mean, you can watch and I think bid on just sale barn. I mean, just regular sale barn stuff.
Oh, yeah. They got DV auctions, got weekly sales, just straight up buying pens of calves, it's been chase. It's mainstream when Joplin has you know, you can buy load lots or even singles online,
Oh yeah,
at a sale barn. So
it's completely changed the
that's
game.
yeah. It's come a long way from waiting for the DVD to show up in the mailbox for to see the sale video. I can remember when I was young, Dad was like, "Oh yeah, we got a sale video in today."
And it was
And now it
DVDs.
just yeah, it's a DVD. You stick it in there, and now it pops up on your phone as soon as they get it ready to go. So which makes things more efficient.
It
Because
does.
they
I
had
mean, you can
even back then, if you didn't get on the right mailing list, you wouldn't get that DVD.
still ain't gonna get it,
So
was he?
yeah, so I mean that's kind of neat how now you everybody can see every sale pretty much because they put it online. So it
Well, in the
makes it
way the
a lot
U.S.
easier.
Postal Service, I mean, it's no fault in them. It's well, some of them. It's but some of these, I don't know how many times that I get home and I have the catalog to where I was going in my mailbox when I get home from that sale. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go online, you can watch it. Heck, when some of these sales, we'll put them on the TV in here, put them on the laptop and hook it to the TV and watch it on the big screen. And it's enjoyable sometimes. It's like you said, when you can't go, you can still watch it and be present and be a part of the sale. Because life's busy and it seems like it's doing nothing but getting busier anymore.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but no, I mean it's changed everything, and I think I actually thought about it earlier, and it would be cool, and it's probably going to happen or it's already happened, and I just don't know about it. But like an app on your phone where if you're, like these online frozen genetic sales, if you get outbid, it'll pop up like a regular app will and say, "Hey, you've been outbid," and you can click on, that would be cool. I'm gonna say if it's not out, it's probably coming. Um, but just whatever makes it most convenient, I think is kind of where um it's kind of where it's all got to go anymore. Convenience is key.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that.
Well, we kind of talked around the world tonight, but hopefully
We
everybody
went from
enjoys
flushing cows to
this.
talking about DVDs in the mailbox.
Hopefully
Boy, I
everybody
hate.
enjoys this episode.
They got me thinking. I sure would hate to know if I was depending on the mail to send in a DVD to see cell cattle these days. Man,
It'd be bad, wouldn't it?
yeah, it sure would be.
It would be bad, but no, we kind of talked around the world tonight. Not gonna lie, kind of run up on us. We've been busy ourselves with um, Jared being sick, and we've been trying to get everything done. Life happens, but we got it out, and we'll see what people's opinions on the flushing stuff is. Normally, that's a pretty volatile subject, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
I kind of like talking about the current events and stuff. Maybe folks will like to hear that as well.
well, and I like the hot topics that we started doing. I mean, it's I want to, like we talked about before this started. It's nice to kind of hit the topics while they're being talked about, whether people agree with us or not. That's okay, but at least it kind of gives somebody it gives different opinions that way.
Yep, yep, yep.
But that's all we have for tonight, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Sounds good. See you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.